Hey everybody, welcome back to the Time Pass Podcast. This is your host, Ashika. Thank you so much for joining me today, you guys. If you haven't done so already, please like me on Facebook at Time Pass Podcast. Follow me on Instagram at TimePass_podcast and check out the YouTube channel where you can watch all the episodes of the Time Pass Podcast. If you are an auditory listener, wherever you are tuning into the Time Pass Podcast, please make sure that you are liked, followed, or subscribed on your listening platform of choice wherever you listen to podcasts. All right, you guys. I don't know why. I got this way a little bit last year as well, but those of you who, maybe follow the news or pay attention to things that are going on around you, there was a dancer. He was Ellen's DJ. His name was Twitch. And father of 4, happily married, just celebrated his 8th wedding anniversary a couple weeks ago, I think it was, or very recently. I may be wrong on the timeline there. But he passed away earlier this week. And it was determined that he actually passed away from suicide. And I talked about this on my social networks on Monday, actually. I did this whole reel with the sound from Sylvester Stallone from Rocky. I'm a Rocky fan, y'all. But the reel really hit home for me when I create content. I'm always looking for trending sounds and things like that. And this sound wasn't really trending, but the messaging really hit home for me, especially this time of year, because it's really hard on people. The holiday blues are a thing. And with the tragic incident that happened with Twitch and finding out that he had, committed suicide, I have known somebody who was close to me who actually committed suicide. I've known somebody who was like a celebrity who committed suicide, and it was so funny because he was a celebrity in India and he committed suicide, and we had connected over Instagram and actually carried on conversations and such, because he was such a smart guy and he was always questioning. I'm like a fan. I was fangirling it. And he was always questioning his followers, like asking questions about the universe, because he was into space and NASA and an engineer, Sushant Singh Rajput. You guys can look him up if you like. But he was always questioning his followers. And one day he asked I don't even remember what the question was, and that's what's so sad, but he asked some philosophical question about time and life, and I was on one, and I responded, and he just really appreciated my response, and then, there was a mutual friendship at that point, a little bit, but just online, y'all. Like, it wasn't anything more than just a, hey, like, he would respect my opinion, I would answer his questions when he would ask them. That's it. So then, he ended up dying from suicide in 2020, in the year of COVID. And then I've struggled with my own demons when I was younger, and still to this day, people have demons. Everybody can get to a dark place, and I can too. So I understand what it's like. And we hear a lot, we hear that suicide rates, are up high during the holidays, and I actually don't know if that's correct, but I do know what is right, and that is the holiday blues. So I did a lot of research, and I wanted to talk about this holiday blues, if you're experiencing it, how to deal with it, if you know somebody, how to kind of look for the signs of it, and how to check in on people so that nobody feels alone during the holiday season. It's not good to feel depressed or sad any time of year, but we all go there. So just, I just wanted to talk about it a little bit and promote some self-help, self-awareness, because I know from time to time I need it as well. So anyway, I will tell you that the holidays are a stressful time for people. And the reason why is because for a lot of people, it's like the meal planning, the travel, the gift giving. It's a happy time of year, but for some people, it can be difficult and emotionally exhausting. And this article, I found a couple articles, and I'll link them in the show notes like I always do on the website, timepasspodcast.com. but a survey by the American Psychological Association found that 38% of people felt that their stress levels increased during the holiday season. And when stress levels increase, it affects our health. There's a risk of illness, substance abuse, anxiety, and depression. So, why does this happen? Why do depression rates, or these holiday blues, as we want to call them, rise during the holidays? Why do we experience this during the holidays? And the National Alliance on Mental Illness found that 64% of people living with a mental illness reported that their condition worsened during the holidays. And I think, and this article basically thinks as well, that when the holidays come around, there's a lot, y'all. There's events, there's social interactions, there's family you gotta deal with, and the pressure of all that and how many responsibilities someone has can really take a toll on people. And in other cases, it can be tied to bad memories. Maybe you lost somebody. Maybe, you had a bad breakup or something like that during the holidays. And it can lead to memories that you maybe don't want to remember about the past. And a lot of times, our families can be quite dysfunctional. And having to face all your family, like me, right? Like the single girl having to face all your family. Like, oh, you're still single. I don't really care. But there's a lot of people out there. I mean, I wouldn't say I don't really care. It's just like, it is what it is. Like, what am I going to do? Like, yeah, I'm still single. I'm not going to settle for somebody that I don't see a future with. I want that magic. I want that missing piece to my puzzle. So yeah, I'm still single, and it hurts for people to, poke fun at it, or just even bring attention to it. I'm like, can we please talk about something else? But it's hard for people, and that can trigger a lot of people. So, family gatherings have a thing to do with as well. Besides that, this was something that I learned recently while doing my research, but there's this disorder called major depressive disorder with a seasonal pattern, and it's known as seasonal affective disorder, or SAD. And basically what that says, and I totally believe this, SAD, seasonal affective disorder, is clinical depression that appears in late fall and lasts until early spring. Y'all, I am so much happier in spring and summer. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm pretty happy year round, but I just know, I like it when I can get out in the sun, and I don't like being cold unless I'm cuddling. I had never heard of SAD before, so this was really interesting to me. And basically what it says is that limited exposure to natural light can impact our body's rhythms and chemical balances, and it can change people's perspective. I mean, I'm not clinically depressed, but I know when the days get shorter, I hate it. Like, I love coming home from work and knowing I still have sunlight. I mean, that's why I wake up at 5. That's why I wake up so early, because I like to get as much done as I possibly can in the middle of the day. And when we're in this season right now, I just feel like I don't get as much done as I would love to get done. I'm just tired because it's colder, because the sun's going down, and I just want to be home. And I'm like, oh my God, it's so late, when it really isn't that late. But this is basically what it says, is when the days seem shorter, darkness lasts longer, and the cold weather, it keeps us indoors. We're not getting that sunlight, and so people suffer from this. And basically what research shows is that people that suffer from clinical depression with this seasonal pattern, it's as much as 6% of the population. So, hey, it's a thing. So, what causes depression during the holidays? I think a lot of times it's what we don't have or what we see, right? When we watch TV and we watch movies and things like that, we feel like, oh, everything's portrayed so perfect. Have y'all ever watched a Hallmark Christmas movie? I'm going to tell you right now, sometimes I just have them playing in the background while I read or do something because I don't like a quiet house. Typically, I listen to music. I always have music going. But sometimes when I don't want music, because the music can sometimes take me into that world where I'm like paying attention to the music and paying attention to the songs, and then I start practicing my singing. So sometimes I don't want to go that way. So I just want to have some noise on in the background, and I'll usually pick, like, it's during the holidays, I'll pick like the Hallmark channel to have like Hallmark Christmas movies on. And if you watch those movies, everything's so perfect in those movies. And then you get, people can get this unrealistic sort of idea of what their holiday should look like. Well, look at those people on TV. They have everything this time of year. Why can't I have that? Why don't I have that? I must suck. Like, you can start to think that way. And so when you see all this happiness and this perfectness around you, it's hard. And then there are those people that are isolated. You have a lot of people in the military that are overseas. You have people that move for work. You have people that move for jobs, and then they're maybe unable to go home and spend time with loved ones. And they see everybody else doing it and being happy about it, and it makes them sad and depressed. And then a lot of times when that happens, you're left alone with your feelings, and then you kind of downward spiral, right? And it deepens the depression. But here are some of the most common causes for depression during the holidays. So, general stress, physical and mental fatigue. Y'all, I will tell you that last year I did a whole episode on it, the holidays, DEDAZE episode, where I just felt so exhausted. It was like event after event, family event, work event, personal event, had to go to this party, had to go to that party, had to do what I wanted to do for the holidays, had to make Christmas special at home, had to get my holiday cookies made, had to make sure, like, it's so stressful. And I was running on empty, and I was so feeling overwhelmed with the entire holiday season. Thankfully, it hasn't been like that for me this year. I feel like it's just been a much slower, easier season. I think a lot of that has to do with some of the tips that I'm going to share later on in this episode. But physical and mental fatigue can cause it as well. Pressures of perceived obligation. Maybe you're hard up on money and you have to give all these gifts. You got to plan meals. Maybe you have to travel and you don't want to. Like, you have pressures of this. Financial stress. High expectations. This is exactly what I was just talking about. High expectations based on what you see on social media, based on what you see on TV, based on what you see in the movies. Travel stress, stressful family gatherings. We talked about that. First holiday without somebody you love, either a breakup or somebody who passed away. Loneliness, just general loneliness. Disappointment over not being able to see family and friends. And during the pandemic, this was a big one, but isolation. So let's talk a little bit about seasonal affective disorder. Let's talk a little bit about that. So the symptoms of seasonal depression are very similar to the symptoms of regular depression that occurs any time of year, but pay attention to people, you guys. So if a friend or even yourself and you just don't realize what's wrong with you, if you feel tired or you have a lack of energy, you're no longer enjoying activities that you previously liked. I feel like this is like the number one thing. Like, every time I go to the doctor's office, they have that little questionnaire that you fill out. And it's like, do you no longer feel enjoyment in doing things that you previously enjoyed? And I fill it out all the time, and I'm always like, no. But this is a real thing. Like, it could be like somebody like me who's like social. It could be like my best friend saying, hey, let's go do this. And I'm like, no, I just don't want to. I just want to stay home. And it's okay to do that. I do that sometimes for my own mental health, where I'm like, hey, I just want to stay home and have a day to myself. I do that a lot, and that I do that to stay sane and to ground myself. But if you find that becoming a pattern, you may want to look into it a little bit. If you have feelings of guilt, hopelessness, or worthlessness, if you've had a change in your own personal relationships, change in sleep patterns, y'all, here's the thing about me, and I'm going to share this with you guys. I have trouble. You guys, I'm busy. I go 100 miles an hour and I have trouble turning my brain off. And I always know that it's bad, that I need to slow down and I need to try and focus more on de-stressing and trying to relax when I disrupt my sleep pattern. And I have been super anxious lately, and I kid you not, for the last 3 weeks, I have been waking up at like 3 in the morning or 4 in the morning. And it's like, most of the time it's 3:30 in the morning and I just like wake up and it's like my body is just like, oh, you've had enough sleep. And it's like, and I wake up and I'm alert. And I know it's because my mind was just, it's just struggles. I struggle to turn my mind off. And then I lay there and try to go back to bed. But having a change in your sleep patterns can be something. Change in appetite, weight loss, weight gain, difficulty concentrating or making decisions, difficulty working, general irritability, and then self-harm. And the big question about SAD, right, seasonal affective depression, is can someone who does not or is not clinically depressed be depressed over the holidays? Absolutely, you can. So what can you do? What can you do to support somebody who has the holiday blues? Check in with your friends and family often. This is a big thing, and this is what really, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, this is what, like, really set me off on Shushat Singh Rajput, and then also on Twitch. These people led happy lives. If you go to their social media, well, Shushat was always very philosophical, so you maybe didn't know. But he was a deep thinker, and you can see a little bit of darkness in his posts. But like Twitch, this guy made dance videos with his wife on TikTok all the time. He was super talented dancer, making people smile, great energy, bringing light to the world with what he was doing. And you don't think to ever check on people who look like nothing's wrong with them. But you really should, because a lot of times those people hide their feelings of anxiety behind a brave face. And they could probably really benefit from talking to somebody about how they're truly doing. And when somebody takes the time to actually reach out and support them, it'll probably make them feel really good. This is funny for me because I find it easier to talk to strangers than I do to people I know. And I don't know, I kind of know why that is. I feel sometimes people that know me have a certain expectation from me, and I don't like to break that facade, so to say. Like, I don't want them to see me any different. And so I have met, and I talk about it a lot, right? I talk about how when I travel, especially when I travel solo, I meet like the best people and I have the best experiences. Sometimes, y'all, when I meet people that I don't know, and I can just be me, or be like the person I'm feeling like I am that day, and I can just like say whatever I want and do. There's no like shock value, right? There's no judgment. And those experiences, I love that. I love that. So it doesn't have to be somebody you know. It could be a stranger. That's why I always tell you guys, if you feel sad or depressed, like, reach out to me. I'll talk to you. I'll talk to anybody. I'll talk to a wall, y'all. Like, I'll talk to anybody. So reach out to me. Reach out to somebody. I don't know. It's another reason why when I meet people, especially strangers, sometimes I will gravitate to the people who are the quietest. I will gravitate to the people who look uncomfortable and try to make them comfortable and try to talk to them. It's just who I am. It's always been who I am, and it's just always been ingrained in me. I just want everybody to feel valued and seen. You know what I mean? I want everybody to feel seen. So do that. When you do talk to someone, listen with empathy, listen with sympathy, and do not dismiss their feelings, right? Like, for South Asians, this happens a lot. Like, I feel like if you tell your parents or your siblings that, you know, you're not feeling well, they'll be like, oh, you'll be fine. Like, why are you not feeling well? Just go do something and then you'll feel better. Like, don't do that, and don't try to make it seem like the one that everyone always says is like, well, it's not as bad as it could be. Like, it could be worse. Like, that doesn't really help. You're kind of invalidating someone's feelings. So just listen and be empathetic and be sympathetic and just listen to what they're saying and try to talk them through what their struggles are. If you can't help or you feel like what it is too deep, you can always suggest that they talk to a professional. I do this all the time. Like, I had a friend and I was like, hey, maybe you should talk to this like life coach because she had some issues in her life, and I set her up with like a free appointment and all this stuff, and she never took advantage of it. But I was really, like subtle about it and just made the suggestion because there's no shame in that game. I always say, if you need help, I'm the first one to tell you, go get help. If I need help, I'm going to go get help. I've done it before through my divorce. We went through marriage counseling. I needed outside help. I couldn't fix it. He couldn't fix it. So I'm all about that life. Now, what can you do? If you are the person who is feeling this way, what can you do during the holiday blues to take care of yourself? Make sure that your expectations are realistic. Stop looking at social media and comparing your life to someone else's. I mean, that's not true. Like, even if you look at like my social media, for example, right? Like my personal social media, everybody posts the good stuff. Nobody posts the bad stuff. Like, people only post the good stuff. So don't think by looking at someone's social media account that they have everything all figured out and it's 110% and it's kosher and they got the perfect family photo and they've got the perfect relationship and they've got the perfect children and they've got the perfect house. No, they don't. That's just it's just a moment. It's just a photo. And they thought it was good and they thought it was cute and they posted it. Like, their life is not perfect. My life is not perfect. Like, do not look and compare your life to other people's lives. Be realistic. Realize that these people do not show all the ugly parts of their life. Like, that's not what a lot of people do on social media. So please keep your expectations realistic. Here's something that I did this year, and I think it's really helped me out by not feeling overwhelmed and like I'm going 100 miles an hour. Practice saying no. If you know that you're going to go to an event and it's going to drive you crazy and it's going to be all couples and they're probably all going to pick on you, or my favorite is when everyone's like, so who are you dating? Tell us stories. Let us live vicariously through you. No, I don't want to. Probably don't have anything to share. I don't this year. But anyway, say no. Why do you have to go? You don't have to go. If there's people that you want to see, that you want to connect with, make a plan to connect up with them later when the holidays are over or when you're not in a big group social setting. Go to lunch, go grab a drink, go grab coffee. Do something else. Say no. Don't walk into a situation where you know you're going to be made to feel uncomfortable. Say no. Just say no. Dare. Drug resistance, education. I think that's what it was. Anyway, just say no. Limit external sources of holiday pressure. So don't watch those Hallmark movies. Don't watch those Hallmark movies. Don't get on and scroll people's social media. Don't look at other people's photos. And don't do it. Just limit the things that pressure you or trigger you. Here's a big one, and it's so crazy because you guys know I train with my trainer about 3-4 times a week right now. And we've been talking about it because a lot of people have kind of dropped off, like the boot camps, like showing up live. And I'm sure they probably do the recordings, but show up for yourself. Do not stop taking care of yourself, doing the things that keep you sane. Like, practice your self-care. So if you work out because that makes you feel good, I mean, hello, endorphins, keep doing that. Don't give that up, especially when you know that this time of year causes you to struggle. Don't stop doing something that makes you feel good, right? Keep doing those things. If you need to take time to meditate, if you need to take time to do yoga, just keep doing it. Take time for yourself. And like I said, like, I have those days and I have those moments where I'm like, you know what I do when I have those days, you guys? I'm going to let you in on my little secret here. Do you know what I do when I have those days when I just want to be. I want to stay home in my comfy clothes. I want to listen to music. And I want to read. And that's all I want to do all day long. Like, reading for me has always been such an escape, and it's always been so like calming, and it's just, I love it, right? Like, it's a hobby. Like, I love to read. So when I can have a day where I don't have to think about anything and I'm fully engrossed in a book and just like unplug from the world and just like have my music going and be immersed in this book and not have to worry about anything, like, gosh, that's such a recharger for me. It recharges me so much when I have those days. And I probably do that maybe once every, as needed, but I probably think the last time I did it was maybe like a month ago or something like that. So maybe once a month or once every 2 months, or if it's a particularly stressful month, maybe I do it twice. But those days are just so recharging for me. And I love being able to do that. So do the things that you need to do. And lastly, if you need to talk to somebody, talk to a professional. Just go talk to a mental health professional. All right, you guys. I don't know. I just think this is a hard time of year. I have memories. I lost my grandmother back in 2015 when my daughter was born, and I spent many Christmases with her when I was young because she would fly in from Canada and come spend Christmas with us. And we were lucky because she did that for several years. And actually, it's so funny because her other kids and grandkids would complain about it. Why do you always go to LA this is when I lived in Southern California. Why do you always go to LA for Christmas? So I'm really lucky because I had a lot of Christmases with her. And, I feel that sometimes, like, this is a time I used to spend with my grandmother and my bigger family. And, I have family members that have kind of fell off or are unable to come into town this year. And I am such a creature of habit, right? Like, I like things to be a certain way. I like my traditions. I like my, I usually do like the Christmas morning here at my house. And so like, I'll like make overnight cinnamon rolls, and I'll make coffee, and I'll make cha, and I'll like, it'll just like, I like having that full house of things to do. My niece and nephew used to come and every holiday. And so, my holidays have been up and down, from having a lot of people to no people to like a couple people, so I miss those bigger things. So, it is what it is. Just take care of yourself. I don't know where I was going with that statement, but I struggle with things too, like everybody does. So just take care of yourself. Do what you need to do to take care of yourself. And maybe I'm sensitive to it because I've known people who, have passed away from suicide and maybe felt they didn't have anybody to talk to. And because I did go through my own personal struggles, I may be a little more sensitive to it. So I would just say check in on people. Check in on people that you love. Check in on people that you don't love. Check in on strangers. Just check in on people. Be a good human. If you think you see somebody who's struggling, ask them how their day is going. Because sometimes something so simple like asking somebody how their day is going can really turn into a conversation and turn it around for them. So you guys, I know the holidays, it's an exciting time of year. It's my favorite time of year. I love every holiday, so I'm like always crazy about it. But there's a dark side to the holiday season too, and I think it's important to talk about it and amplify it and give people the tools they need to get through it, and or maybe to recognize it in somebody and help them through the process. So that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you haven't done so already, please like me on Facebook, follow me on Instagram, and make sure you like, follow, and subscribe to the Time Pass Podcast on YouTube. If you are a Time Passer, you enjoy listening to me, especially this episode, do me a favor and share it with somebody. Share it with somebody who you may think is struggling. Share it with somebody to increase awareness. Just give me that for Christmas. Share the show with somebody. And I will end the show on a positive note here. I do still have a big announcement for you guys, and I'm really excited about it. And I'm just like, it's so hard for me to, like, I'm sitting on my hands, not able to say anything about it. So it's so hard for me to not share it. But do stay tuned. I do have some great news coming soon. Anyway, stay authentic to who you are, and I will see you next time.